So good morning, everybody in the hall and online. I'm really glad we're together as a community at this time. It's a very extraordinary time. We keep saying year by year we're at an inflection point. Oh, it's probably here. Okay. We keep saying we're at an inflection point. This is like a prolonged inflection point that we're experiencing, in terms of all of the things that are happening in the world. And also, this election in this country is not just about this country. It's about, in a certain way, everything. In Zen, we talk about Ma, or this Ma point. It's, a place where in the kind of weave of things, in the sort of net of life, there's one place that you can kind of gather your fingers together and pick up the whole net. I think that Donella Meadows might, agree in terms of her work. And yet all of us have this incredible responsibility to meet the world in a way, and these are the words that I'm using a lot recently because I've been completely inundated with emails from people who are biting their nails. And it's just exactly what many people are experiencing right now. It's, a lot of fear. And so in a way, the call is how to make fear an ally, and the other call is how do we actualize joy and justice? The two of those together as we move into this election with so much uncertainty apparent. Now, actually, from the Buddhist perspective, but I think the perspective of physics, uncertainty is what is real. Certainty is not real. And so one of the things that we're called to is to actually, let's get real. And that's why we put together this community meeting, which started at the beginning of the pandemic on socially engaged Buddhism. And now this iteration for 5 years later, we call Gathering Dharma. And we'll find an iteration for 2005, where we as socially engaged Buddhists can come together and explore as a community what are the issues and how can we take action in a principled and joyful and just way now. So one of the things that came to my attention this morning as I was reading the news was this extraordinary act by this young Iranian woman. I don't know if you have read it, but her name is Ahu Daryai. It translates, beautiful name, Deer of the Sea. She's a student at Tehran Science and Research University, and she was being threatened by the authorities in terms of how she was wearing her hijab. And in a fearless act of defiance, after experiencing harassment, after being assaulted by security forces, she took her hijab off. She stripped down to just her bra and panties this morning. It takes courage to show up. And that woman showed up. Of course, she was taken away. And the latest, just before I came into the hall, was that she was taken, assumed that she had a mental health problem and taken to an insane asylum. We don't know what that means. Well, in a way, the whole world is a little bit in an insane asylum, and we're being asked to strip down, to really strip down. And we're also being asked to show up in a true and courageous way. So I just want to acknowledge the power of this woman to show up and to go naked before the whole world, because it is on the whole world. It's all over social media right now. What is it to really show ourselves in a world that is so brittle, in a world that is in crisis? And here we are, a bunch of us inside the beautiful Taizando. It's warm, we're safe, we feel, we're part of a community of practice, we share common vows, a common vision. And that's what Gathering Dharma means. What is it? To both atone, to take responsibility for our actions, and to also to affirm our vows. That is the real heart of our practice. And yet when we step out of here, there's another kind of experience for many people. And the Buddha was so clear in the Dhammapada. He said, hatred is never appeased by hatred. And it's so why I keep coming back to these two pieces, joy, which really was a shift, in the kind of political landscape when things changed a few months ago, when Biden stepped down, and justice. And what do we mean by justice? And in this regard, often what I do is share some words from a Buddhist teacher in England, John Peacock. I had a big pylon of people what could we say, dissing me because I'm a socially engaged Buddhist. I'm politically active. I'm environmentally active. And I just let it be, like duck feathers, water coursing off my big duck feathers. Not everybody has big duck feathers. And like this woman, Ahut Darye, however you say her name, I don't know. I haven't heard it pronounced in the media. But in any case, many of you know whom I'm talking about. What it really means to show up in a way as the Buddhist did when he shifted the social organization of the Sangha, and then many other things that he did, which were against the stream, the socioeconomic stream of his era. And how to bring this sensibility forward and not be afraid of the pushback that one receives for standing in joy and justice. So John Peacock, whom I have a lot of respect for, he says, if our quest for personal flourishing in this world through study and practice, the study and practice of Buddhism, doesn't lead us to question the structures that give rise to hunger, inequality, prejudice, and injustice, then our, quote, Buddhism exists in a rarefied atmosphere, divorced from the struggle for existence of billions of beings on this planet. Right? It's not just the two-leggeds. We're talking about the sixth great extinction. And yet, how not to go into sinking mind. As we begin to unfold with Konda and Kozan and people in this room and the people online, how do we unfold our lives in the midst of the incredible complexities? And apropos of this, we had this practice period. It was really, I was online for some of it, the golden age of Zen. Well, it happened right in the middle of the Tang Dynasty, which between 755 and 763, 2 out of 3 people died in China from war and famine. The golden age of Zen happened right in the middle of that. And that was right in the midst of the Tang Dynasty. This is not the first time that things have been really rough on this earth. But I think we have an opportunity now. And in part, it has to do how we actually don't default to moral disengagement and social disengagement, how we stay engaged. So I just urge us with all my heart to kindly vote, no matter whom you're voting for. And of course, I do have a preference, and I voted. I got off that plane from China, from Hong Kong and Korea. I was just wasted from travel and work. And when Wendy and I went right to the polls, and we voted within 24 hours of our feet landing on this Santa Fe ground. Of course, that afternoon, I shattered my elbow because I was so tired and fell down, but never mind. Show up. That's really where things come alive for us, and also where others can be infused with a sense of joy, of possibility, and the importance of justice in our world. So as part of our practice here, I'm going to invite those in the chat or online to kindly put in, and if you're bummed out, it's okay. Don't worry, nobody's going to judge you. What's alive in you right now in the midst of this? And let's just kind of track that for a minute, and then I'm going to look at the chat. Good. Love. Yes. Hope and sorrow, hope and resolve, cautious hope. What's alive in you right now? Please write everyone. Postcards. Knock on the doors. Trust, hope, fear. Yeah. Gratitude, possibilities, spacious possibility, patience and determination. Anxiety. I love this one. Fatigue and gratitude. Commitment to loving kindness to all. And can you imagine if I'm not a very kind of, what could I say, superstitious or magical person. I think I was when I was younger. But just imagine, in terms of the anger out there, if we sent metta, loving kindness, as a kind of object in the world of physics to transform that kind of suffering of hatred that we're seeing so much of. Well, why not? We can do that. Facing the strength and blessing of, blessings of community. This is one, I feel, of the powers of the Bodhisattva. Cultivating conscientious, compassionate, and also loving and joyful community. Wow, a lot of really engagement is the antidote to anxiety. I do have to say, whoever put that in, it just disappeared now in the running of the chat, but I really know this to be true. Sitting and stewing is not healthy. Even the smallest, easiest gesture is one that actually begins to metabolize, within your nervous system, within your neurochemical system, a sense of greater possibility. So I'd like to invite a few of us here in the audience, and I'm going to just repeat so we don't have to run mics. Hey, Mother Tessa. Sorry, I haven't seen you in decades. Father Dave. I thought you were coming last week. Sorry. Mother Tessa and I and Father Dave, who are Carmelites, have known each other for a half a century. So can you believe it? We're still kicking around. You're looking pretty good, too. That's the Southwest. It's the good air. But Arizona, oh, my goodness. Okay, back to, I just want to collect a few comments, and I'm just going to repeat them. where are you all at here sitting in the room? Just don't be afraid. Just say it out loud. Yeah.
Panic and presence.
Panic and presence. Great. What else?
Hopeful.
Yeah. Hopeful. Beautiful. Wonderful.
Motivated.
Motivated. Right on, Jane. Well, you're always motivated. Great. Okay. What about you, Mother Tessa?
Definitely hopeful, a little scared.
Yeah.
Knowing that whatever happens, life and practice remain the same and stronger than ever.
Okay. The first one was
Hopeful.
hopeful. The second one,
Scared.
a little scared. And the third is whatever happens, life and practice will not only be the same, but stronger. I just want to mention in this regard, I just think of Valencia with these extraordinary floods in Spain. Rebecca Solnit's written this incredible book, A Paradise Built in Hell. How, several hundred people died in this climate catastrophe. And the community, not waiting for the Civil Guard or, some federally allocated whatever to save or clean, just everyone who survived turned to each other and linked arms as a community to find the dead bodies, to clean the mud, and to clear the way. A paradise built in hell. The importance of community, of relationship. So I'm going to ask Kozan, Sensei Kozan Palevsky, my beloved friend, who is president of Upaya, if you would lead us in a meditation, after which then Konda is going to share, and then I'll say some words, and then Kozan will say some words, and we'll jump into meeting each other online and on site. Kozan.
Thank you, Roshi. You all hear me okay in Taizanda? Yeah? Okay. I get to see everyone. Hi, friends. So we'll start by sitting together as we do during our monthly gatherings. And just very simply. So beginning by finding our body, our postures, and remembering this wonderful pointer, this wonderful instruction that Roshi's given us of embodying a strong back, rooted, flexible, steady, and a soft front, porous, curious, open, welcoming. Allowing our bodies to be upright and easeful in this way. And just finding the breath bringing us to presence in the body in this moment, our connection to all things. Your eyes can be open and cast down in front of you or closed if you like. And beginning by really recalling our intention. Why do we practice? What brings us to this place, to this engagement of showing up to life and to each other? What is our intention? And with whatever arises in this moment, bringing to mind the Bodhisattva vow to transform suffering, to meet difficulty and hardship in whatever form with our whole heart and life. And so that this isn't just a thought, we can bring to mind, maybe today we bring to mind a community that faces real hardship, systemic injustice, inability to find stability and sustenance or any ease. We may think of our southern border and those attempting to cross to find a life that is viable. We may think of those in Gaza and the broader conflict in the Middle East. We may think of those living on islands in the Pacific that, depending on our actions, may not be islands anymore in the future. Or other communities near to us that we can feel and we know in some way. And we don't bring them to mind to be overwhelmed or to imagine what might fix the situation, but to notice our natural inclination to come alongside, to be with, to show up to. And allow that feeling to rest in the body. And then placing this intention beneath us as if it's the ground on which we practice together. Bring your awareness to the breath in the belly or wherever it is in the body. That is attending to what arises right here, right now. Allowing the breath to connect us. This is the tide of the ocean, the opening and closing of the forests as they breathe, the pulse of our sun and our moon. And the breath also just opens up a space for us to be present with whatever is right here, rather than our idea about what should be or what might be right here. So just finding refuge in the breath and the body and returning if we drift away, and allowing a period of silence to practice in this way. For these last few breaths, if we think we're doing something special, we might call meditation, allowing whatever that is to drop away, just sitting. How rare and wonderful that we get to just be in this life together, both in person and across space in this way. And setting this intention to show up to whatever arises with this spirit of practice, and dedicating any good that comes from us gathering in this way to the benefit of those who are facing true hardship, suffering, and injustice, and that we may help to alleviate it. We can bow together.
And Noah, the sound became unusual. Okay. So I'm so grateful. I hope the sound is okay now. You had the sound of music slightly behind you toward the end, Kozan.
Okay. Like an award ceremony.
Was it you or was it us?
It wasn't me. I don't even know.
Okay. So, are we okay now? No. Kozan.
Can you say something, Kozan?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me, Noah?
No, not in the room. Hold on a second.
Oh.
Sorry. We heard you for the whole meditation till the last few seconds.
It went into twinkles.
Well, maybe it'll come back. For now, maybe Konda can just...
I don't think it's not going to work in the room. So I can get this. It's so strange.
I could hear everything that you said, Kozan, and it was really beautiful. I thank you for that. Thank you so much. My nervous system just went down a few notches and really appreciated that. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah, I'm good. Peace and blessings. Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here this morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is where you
Hey,
are.
Konda, I'm sorry. We are trying to get the audio back up in the hall here. We can hear you online, just not in the hall. So just give us a second, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
So can I talk and introduce Konda then?
Yeah, sure.
Great, okay. So a shout out to Konda. Kozan and I were talking about doing this particular morning. It's right before the election. And I thought, and Kozan went, We both just landed on Konda, who at the very last minute, we asked her to join us. And because she is doing such amazing work in the world, she's known to many, many people as an extraordinary, the sound karma. Okay, that's probably. All right, we're having tech gremlins.
Okay,
today.
Konda, try saying something now, please.
Test one. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So that's Konda, who's a thought leader, social justice. I never want to say the word warrior, but you really are. I mean, you're doing amazing work in the world. And, you're also a teacher of Buddhism. And I just have such love and respect for you. And thank you very much for stepping in, because Kozan and I said, you know, there's one more ingredient in our meal for this day, and we both agreed, Konda. So Konda, go.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. I'm so honored to be with the two of you and your community, and especially at this time and this particular moment in history, in our history of the country and the world. That's like this precipice that we're on. We're so close, you know, just a few days away from some very important decisions that we're going to make as a people. And you know, when you were doing your meditation, Kozan, and asking what is our intention, and I really took that in, and I thought about my intention for my practice is just to be kinder, is to be a kinder person on the planet, and to meet suffering with wisdom, to gain as much wisdom as I can, and to meet suffering with that, and to and that it really does inform how I live in the world, and it informs how I live as a human being on this planet in every way. So thank you for, you know, giving me that right before speaking, 'cause I'm anchored in that intention right now. And so I am a Buddhist teacher. I am a Buddhist. I love the Buddha and all that I have learned in these many years that I've been practicing. And I vote. I vote every single time I vote since I was able to. And I stay informed in the world and everything about the world, of the joys and the sorrows. And I am a witness to all of it. And I bring my practice as much as possible to all of that input that I receive from the planet and from how we live in the world. So just a little bit of history. You know, I was born in the mid-50s. I grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s with parents who were deeply connected to the civil rights movement. My mom was from Texas, my dad from Alabama, and their parents barely made it out of the Jim Crow South to California, where they met and where I was born. And so I was born with a lot of information around the lives of my grandparents and their parents and my genealogy, and really understanding the history of this country and what has happened here. And so when they finally left to California, my family is a part of what is known as the Great Migration, getting out of the South. And here I am back. I'm calling in from Louisiana. Never, ever knew that I would be here. Actually, both of my parents are ancestors now, and I probably could not have come back if they were still alive. They would have probably just really convinced me not to do that. But this is the time for me to be here right now, and I love it. And the work that we're doing here, where so much harm happened, and bringing my practice to my life here in the South. And so I know as Buddhists, we talk so much about liberation and freedom. And mainly, I find, particularly in Western convert Buddhism, we talk about personal liberation. You know, may I personally find my way through and become liberated. But my lived experience is that this interpersonal liberation is just one vital step to collective liberation. And collective liberation is where my vision is. My vision is towards our collective liberation. My dear friend and teacher, Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams, some of you may know her, she says, love and justice are not two. Without inner change, there can be no outer change. And without collective change, no change matters. So it's about that community, that collective change that I think is at the key to our collective liberation. And as Bodhisattvas, we know that it's not just about our personal liberation. And so I vote, and I'm very involved in the process. And as quiet as it's kept, or as little as known, being a Black woman voting is actually still a radical act, because a little bit of history is that it wasn't until 1920 that, and the 19th Amendment, that women were allowed to vote in this country. And when I say women, that was white women who were allowed to vote in this country in 1920. Black women did not get a chance to vote, the right to vote, until the Voting Rights Act of 1965. That was around the corner, right? And Native American women couldn't vote until 1962, Puerto Rican women in 1935, and Asian women in 1952. This is a radical act right now of us even sitting here and talking about voting, as particularly as women. So with that, how could I not vote? And how could we all not vote, right? I read on the internet yesterday something that was very interesting. It looked like it was from a question from a concerned Buddhist practitioner. And this is what it was, a female, what she said: isn't voting basically judging people? And are we not supposed to judge people? And I took that in, and I realized that there are gaps in what I think the message is that our teachings, that the teachings of the Buddha are about. For me, one of the most important teachings of Buddhism is that we live a life that causes the least amount of suffering and harm as possible. That we live a life trying not to cause harm in our actions, in our words, and in our deeds. So I vote using my discernment around harm. Harm is my barometer around how I do so many things. The least amount of harm as possible. My Buddhist practice informs everything I do, especially voting. So when I think about harm, the least amount of harm, I vote for persons who show me that they will cause the least amount of harm to other beings, to other living beings, to the earth, to all beings that we share this planet with. I vote for those who show me that their life, their heart has compassion, that I vote for those who show me that they are a part of creating a just world. And I especially vote for the earth, who can't vote for herself. And so this is the barometers. This is what I use to be discerning, and to use my vote as my voice, and my vote as my voice for all of those who cannot vote, who do not have that voice. Maybe they are younger and can't vote yet. I have been trained from my family, from my parents, my sisters and brothers, and from my practice to stand up and to have the courage to stand up for those who have been harmed. And what we do as Buddhists, we accompany those who have been harmed. We try to eliminate harm through the wisdom of the teachings. And we also help those who cause harm by understanding the karma that they are creating. And so it's really important that we are engaged in life with all beings, and that we keep ourselves aware, and that we have the courage to stand up. They call it this engaged Buddhism. I remember Thich Nhat Hanh saying, there's no such thing as engaged Buddhism, that Buddhism is inherently engaged. It's inherently engaged. So voting is our civic duty to help create a world of peace and a world of justice. Because you may have noticed that justice and peace and freedom, it doesn't come freely. It doesn't. We have this beautiful constitution that reads beautifully, and that has created a country on the planet that that is doing that I love, and it has not reached all the goals that is stated, and that it causes us to get engaged and to move towards all of its lofty goals and to see it happen bit by bit, bit by bit. And so if you know me, you know that I hold my desires for a free and a just world very fiercely. I am an activist. The work that I do in the world is all what one would probably call an activist. And yet, at the same time, I am steeped in the Dharma. And the question becomes also, how do we manage our emotions? How do we manage our emotions in a way that is wise? And the paradox that is always with me, the paradox is that how does one work towards a peaceful and just world with everything you've got, and at the same time to train your heart to let go of the results? Do everything you can and let go of the results, to accept what is, and continue to work for a better world. That is the paradox. And it's through this practice, through training, that I feel that my heart, as I am living in the world, doing all the work that I do, knowing that I am pushing for this to happen or wanting this to happen or doing whatever I can to make a just and peaceful world, there's a part of my heart that always knows, along with that passion, there's a part of my heart that has let go. And it is through this practice and through the teachers that I have had such joy to have in my life, that I feel that I'm able to do that. That I can be and you don't want to use the word warrior, I will use it. I am a fierce warrior. And at the same time, I am a warrior of the Dharma. And I know so well through lived experience that attachment equals suffering. Wanting something not to change, and it's going to change. It's going to change. It's not going to be what I want sometimes. So how do I not suffer? How do I not suffer? It's by training my heart, to let go of the results, and know that life is just life. This too is life. However it shows up, this too is life. All the hard places, all the things that break my heart, yeah, this too is life. The joys and the sorrows, having developed the equanimity to hold it all. And that is my goal as well. That is my work, is to develop the equanimity to hold it all. You know, I have this beautiful saying that the wonderful scholar and author and environmentalist and food sovereignty advocate and Indian scholar, Vandana Shiva, some of you may know who she is. She said something once that I repeat, and I've taken it in to my heart. A journalist asked her, because she's so in the world doing so many things, and yet she's holding this place in her heart that is clearly equanimous. And so a journalist asked her, how do you do it all? And this was her answer. I will read this. Well, it's always a mystery, because you don't know why you get depleted or recharged. But this much I know. I do not allow myself to be overcome by hopelessness, no matter how tough the situation. I believe that if you just do your little bit without thinking of the bigness of what you stand against or for, if you turn to the enlargement of your own capacities, just that itself creates new potential. And I've learned from the Bhagavad Gita and other teachings of our culture to detach myself from the results of what I do, because those are not in my hands. The context is not in your control, but your commitment is yours to make, and you can make the deepest commitment with a total detachment about where it will take you. You want it to lead to a better world, and you shape your actions and take full responsibility for them. But then you have detachment. And that combination of deep passion and deep detachment allows me to take on the next challenge, because I don't cripple myself. I don't tie myself in knots. I function like a free being. I think getting that freedom is a social duty, because I think we owe it to each other not to burden each other with prescription and demands. I think what we owe each other is a celebration of life, and to replace fear and hopelessness with fearlessness and joy. I love that. And when I am, what I say, getting caught up in my own desires of what I need and what I want, because I do, the shift happens quicker now. The shift of that letting go happens quicker now. In my heart, I know that I'm going to do everything I can, and I let go of the results as not to suffer. And so I offer this to those of you who noticed in the chat some of the emotions that we're all going through at this time, in this very, very intense time in our country and in the world. Some of the emotions that are hard and fearful. And I offer this teaching, and to be able to notice where the tightness is. Notice where your body is actually tight, and take a breath and allow it to relax, like I did with, thank you so much, with Kozan. I noticed that I was actually getting a bit tight, and him offering me to question, what is your intention, Konda? He didn't say it to me, but I thought he did. What is your intention? And that allowed me to go into the place of my heart to know that my intention is to be kind and to be a kinder person on the planet, and to help others as well to be kinder. So may we come out and vote and do our civic duty, be a part of this world that we love so much. We can't just love it and sit and do nothing. That's not the prescription. We're here together. And I'm so happy to be a part of this Sangha in this moment, to be able to say these words, to feel you, to hear you, and to challenge you. The courage to stand up and to be a part of compassion, of love, of joy, of the joy that is inherent in our hearts and as beings on the planet. So thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to the rest of this time together.
Oh, Konda, thank you so much. Exactly the words that nourish us. I want to switch things around a little bit. I was going to talk next, but actually I want to invite, on the heels of what Konda has said, Kozan to step in to share some of his wisdom with us. And I want to do a little wrap, and then we're going to open up to meeting each other in a time of sharing. Kozan, do you mind going next?
Not at all. Uh, I won't say much. Thank you, Konda, for your words and for agreeing to sit with us this morning in community and in practice. Just kind of feeling the spirit of what you've shared. We were on an email and this this sense, this practice of being wholehearted, facing what is ours to face, and really not holding anything back without being attached to outcome is such a potent invitation for us. And sometimes there's, these seasons where we get to really notice that. And so I hear that in what, Konda, you've shared. And I hope it's okay if I share a little bit about what you do. So, it's not just about the selection, but part of what inspires me is knowing your family left an impossible situation rife with conflict and prejudice, went to a place where there was the capacity to flourish in a different way, and gave through that the opportunity for you to return and do incredible work. Konda works with the land and with nurturing and fostering Black farmers across the South to have a capacity to do what they do, to have land, tend to it, and grow crops that are good for the land and good for us. And this has been something that many people have not wanted in the South for many decades, hundreds of years. So that you do that you face a very difficult situation wholeheartedly and with your whole life, leaving the Bay Area, moving down there. I know a bit of what that's taken, and do all that without attachment to outcome. I can hear in your words, we practice this and then we embody it. So thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah. It seems to me there's kind of two ways we allow doubt to kind of seep in. And maybe we have some doubt that comes up around this election and maybe not. But the two ways are we think, this is so big and so kind of tangled and so outlandish. What am I going to do about it? I'm just one vote. I'm just one person. The thing's actually a mess. How am I going to have any impact? And this is it's a kind of out that's very enticing when we're working in the world that seems kind of larger than our impact on it. And then the other form of doubt that seems to arise, no matter the situation, is just, I'm not sure I know what to do, or, the next generation will really be able to take this on, or that friend of mine who has more clout or more clarity, it's just not my thing. And wherever this arises, and I've felt it in this election, what's going to happen with misinformation and AI deepfakes? And I don't live in a swing state anyway, so is it really that important? This sense of minimizing how tied up we are with each other and with our even our structures of governance and government. So one of the practices I've come back to is just noticing that slippery thought, the thought of wanting to kind of minimize my responsibility and say, all I have to do is show up to what's mine to do. And in this case, it's phone banking and calling friends and doing some work for candidates in New Mexico too, and what I can do so that I know in showing up, I'm not going to have this kind of remainder in the aftermath of what in the end is one of many elections in our lifetime. So the other thing I'm thinking about, and Konda, that you've kind of inspired is, oh yeah, this work is so much bigger than our stories about this work. It's over our entire lifetime. It's over many generations. And there's a way in which I think, oh, this outcome could be rough. And then what? How do I show up to that? We've been studying this past month the jewel mirror samadhi, and also this metaphor of mirrors in our practice, that we practice to keep the mirror of the mind clear, clean, the mirror of the heart clear and clean. And dust gets in the way, dust being suffering or delusion or things we don't understand. And Dogen has a wonderful twist on this, as he does. I think I shared it during our sesshin, which is that every speck of dust, every mote of dust is itself a mirror. That actually everything we think that is in the way is itself the activity of practice, or the mirror of the mind. And so I'm up here in Northern California, where I'm doing some work with some dear friends. And part of the work up here has to do with the ecology of this land in way north. And a dam that was put up, biggest dam in the state, Mount Shasta Dam in the 40s, and it prevented salmon from coming upriver. And the particularly indigenous community up here, which had been fractured from 100 years plus of being persecuted and even hunted, knew from their ways that the salmon up here are the keystone species. They allow the whole space to be vibrant and alive. They bring up nutrients from the ocean that feed the forest. They bring down silica and other aspects of the ecosystem up here down into the ocean to clean out the space. Suddenly you build a huge dam, salmon can't jump over it. Whole thing changes and is out of balance. Not to mention the spiritual tradition of those who live up here. So actually, it was ways after the dam was built, they started to petition for ways for the salmon to be restored. It's been decades now, decades of this work. And many administrations have come and gone. And in the early years, a lot of people would say, well, let's get the government to take care of it. The government can come in and do something. And the Winnemem-Wintu and other tribes from this area thought, well, government hasn't been so kind to us, so we're not going to hold our breath. And eventually, after decades of it not working, people said, you know, you're right. It's not going to be fixed that way. So it took the thing not working, it took the solution not arising, and the vision to say, well, that's not going to stop us, to find other ways, ranchers up here, water districts up here, people who were willing to take it on themselves. And now, decades later, in part because of all these setbacks, which were themselves the path, there's an opportunity for the first time to restore the salmon in a really serious way to this whole region, which it's hard to express how transformative that will be for the people who live here and for the land that suffered because of it. So we think that there's a kind of singular path, or we think that certain setbacks lead to more suffering. But all there is, okay, now how do I show up? Now how do I show up? Now how do I show up? And those who have really been on particularly kind of social justice journeys that are longer than one generation, who have lived that through their families and through their lives, help me realize, oh yes, this isn't about just right now. This is a much longer story than that. So I really thank you, Konda, for bringing that in, and for the people I've had the opportunity and honor to sit with up here for reminding me of that. And for us to know we give everything at this juncture, this pivot point, and then we show up again, whatever arises. And we're so lucky to have each other to do that with. You know, we don't do it alone. So may we vote if you haven't already. I know more than 40% of people in most states have voted, and in Santa Fe, I know many of us have voted. If you haven't, or you need a ride to go vote, any one of us will find you one, and then let's show up after that as well. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kozan, so much. You know, the theme that has been very present for me, as Konda and Kozan have spoken, and it's also, we've just passed Halloween, and I don't know if you heard Koto's really beautiful talk on Wednesday about the Gate of Sweet Nectar and about the history of Halloween, All Hallows Eve, the ancestral element. And none of us would be here had our ancestors not survived. I mean, if you just think about it, what were the frameworks, the attitudes, the views, the actions? What made it possible for your ancestor to survive? Konda's ancestors, my ancestors. You know, we're talking about resilience in our DNA. You know, our ancestors were not perfect, nor are we. But there is something that happened in the past that made it possible for us to be on this earth today in this moment. And then I think, again, in relation to what Konda and Kozan have shared, remembering this book by Thich Nhat Hanh, For a Future to Be Possible, aware of some of us being elders, my peers dropping away like autumn leaves just falling. I'm next. And realizing, you know, what are we leaving for the future? What is really important for us to do now in order to till, but also enrich the earth for those coming in the future? The other day, John Paul Lederach came by, the great peacemaker, and he talked about the long peace. He's been working in Ecuador for 40 years on the peace accord. 40 years, that's a long peace. Staying the course. I mean, this is really what our practice is about. It's not like, you know, as one person said, jumping from wave to wave in search of wetness. You know, it's how do we go really deep into our values, into what Kozan and Konda both pointed out in relation, you know, what is our actual motivation for how we are living, what we are doing, the choices that we're making. Probably everyone who is gathered here in this space, virtually and online and on-site, and who will view this afterwards, will have some sort of idea, an intention, like good intention. Because if you're listening to this, your intentions are probably good. But really, what are our motivations? They're pre-conscious. Can we, in whatever way we can, bring into our awareness what our actual motivations are? And at the same time, understand the thread of resilience that runs through our biology and psychology that has brought us to this very moment. And it's why I've settled on these two words, justice. You know, equality is really important, equal but different. We're not trying to foster a monoculture. You know, I'm so happy that my good friends here who are Chinese or Puerto Rican or Black are here in this hall and online. We do not want a monoculture. We want to appreciate the differences, even the differences between those of us who are online, where we probably are voting the same way, but also with those whom we disagree. You know, the process is one about radical inclusiveness. It's trying to understand really what is it in our society and psyche that gives rise to hatred, to greed, to utter stupidity, to disrespect, to ripping the dignity away from others, to understand those roots, and also to take responsibility within ourselves for exactly this. And I'm thinking about a talk that Genzan gave, who will be here shortly, Sensei Genzan, where he made it clear that vows mean nothing unless there's atonement. And we're not talking about chest beating. We're talking about really taking responsibility for our ignorance, for our greed, for the harm we've created, and not making ourselves sick because of it, but to allow ourselves to deepen our commitment in going forward, to end harm to the greatest degree possible, about which Konda was speaking. And what does it take? I've been saying this word again and again over the past few years, appamada. It takes conscientiousness. It takes care. It takes heedfulness. And then Bill Ayers talks about, who was SDS when I was young and became a professor at the University of Chicago, is now retired. But he talks about collective awakening, the value of what we're learning from each other, even that which really dismays us, and also from ourselves. That our awakening, we do not awaken alone. In the Denkaroku, the line of the first case is, the Buddha saw the morning star. He awakened and he said, I and all beings simultaneously realize the way. And this is actualized through appamada, through the kind of vigilance or heedfulness or being mindful of how we choose to live, the decisions that we're making, including whom we are voting for. So I want to say a few more things, and we're going to open up. I actually have a lot more things, but I love what my good friend Rebecca Solnit said. And Rebecca, as I said, is going to be here shortly. She said, voting's a chess move. It's not a Valentine, which I love. She said, it's a tactical decision about the preferred landscape of possibility. Yeah, Rebecca, she'll be in Paramita Casita in a few days. So get ready, tighten up your seatbelts. That woman is amazing, and we'll be together with her and Valerie Brown and Terry Tempest Williams and some of Cristiana Figueres week after next. Really, post-election, pray it's resolved, but who knows? What does it mean? Exactly what Kozan and Konda were speaking about. To engage in action that is truly awake, appamada, that is conscientious, and that is characterized by, as Konda has said, kindness or deep, deep care. And it's also to understand that the difference between the two parties, no matter where you stand, if we're actually still, two parties. I saw some other names on the ballot and I was like, oh, wow, that's I thought that wasn't happening. But nonetheless, for some people, that the difference between the two parties, because in a way, our politics is a politics of the oligarchs. It's a politics of money and power. You got to know that. I don't care how much I love the candidate I voted for, but nonetheless, our economics is playing a big part. And the global economic system that we're engaged in, we're participating in, like it or not, plays a huge role in how our politics unfolds. And boy, is it visible right now. But in any case, you might not see the gap between the two parties, but a lot of us do. And it's exactly in that gap where so many people and beings are suffering. I mean, let's get real. There is a difference. There is a difference. And our vote, in a way, is a tactical move to the greatest extent possible, which might not be great at all, but still will stand in the principles of our values about mitigating harm. Mitigating harm to whatever extent is possible. Moral disengagement is just not going to do it, honestly. Or accusations that Buddhism is non-political is not, that's just, those accusations are stupid. Talk with Bhikkhu Bodhi, or look at the social history that emerged at the time of the Buddha. And the right to vote. I mean, Konda gave the list. I looked over at Wendy. Did she say 1952? 1952. Wendy is Chinese. Women, Black people, Indigenous people, the original people of this land. It's a right, and we get to exercise it. So from my point of view, it's a time when we move away from alienation and also this individualism that has been so disruptive, not only in our society, but really for the whole earth. From this point of view of operating out of a model, an economic model that's based on extraction, to a model that understands that we are one community, all species, not just the human species. So I want to just end with, I love Rebecca. I just want to end some words. I've been posting these around. Some of you have been on social media. You read them, but not everybody here is in my various feeds where I feed. Rebecca said, I used the word care, but let me clarify. What we care about is what we love. Like Kozan's talking about the salmon. What we care about is what we love. And what we love so much more than the narrow version of who we are acknowledges. We love justice. We do love justice. How could you say you hate justice? We love truth. We love freedom, equality. We love the confidence that comes with secure human rights. We love places. We love rivers and valleys and forests. We love seasons and the pattern and order they imply. We love wildlife. This morning, I looked on the security cameras at 4 a.m. No wonder we have nothing growing here. The deer, we have herds of deer moving through our grounds. I mean, it is just so beautiful. But honestly, I think about Denny, our landscape person who comes out and just seeing our gardens decimated. We love our deer. We just keep planting, no attachment to outcome. She says, we love great blue herons, butterflies, bears. This is always a love story. And I'm just going to suggest voting. We vote for what we love, not necessarily who we love. That's what we vote for. So I'd like to invite us to open our community here and online for reflections and questions. And I'm going to ask our online community, and I see Wendy Johnson's online, by the way. Yay, Wendy. Wendy, I hate to do this to you. No, I don't hate it. Sorry, let's forget that word. But can I ask you if you're still online too? And then Dee Dee, you're next. Wendy, if you could just say a few words. Did you find Wendy, Noah? I always like putting myself and my friends on the spot.
It's off now, so I'm not sure.
Okay, let's go to Dee Dee. Maybe she'll come back on.
Can you hear me?
We have to unmute you, I think. Okay, Dee Dee.
No?
Yes, you.
Damn. Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay, sorry. Um, yes, maybe you could give me some insight. It kind of thinks that you're talking about the deer and the outcome, well, the deer and you having a lovely garden, and then the deer come and eat, and you were hoping, right? You were hoping that the deer wouldn't eat up all the vegetables and so forth. So to me, I'm hoping that Kamala wins. And last time when Trump won, was a bit of a surprise to me, but boy, I had to go to the mental health unit. I was so affected. I'm serious. I was so affected that then the uptake from that was soon the pussy hats that appeared overnight and all the women demonstrating. That was like the best thing ever. But I'm a little, I didn't have the Dharma so much to fall back on then. So but I'm still a little confused about hope and goal and outcome. And I do understand, I really in a way do understand not being attached, but at the same time, I'm a human being and I have a heart which responds. So I'm not quite sure.
Well, I just thank you, Dee Dee, for that question. I have a feeling Konda and Kozan have some reflection, and also I bet many other people have that question going on. Like, what if we don't get what we want or need? Then what? Kozan or Konda, would you want to reflect, please?
Yeah, I'll step in. It is the biggest question, Dee Dee. It is the biggest, it's at the heart of our paradox as humans, I find. And it is, and our minds don't work good with paradoxes. It feels like only one thing can live in one place at the same time. I mean, we told that by science, right? Two things can't live in the same place at the same time. And yet I find that that's not true when it comes to thoughts and when it comes to how we live. How do you hold a deep desire for an outcome and work hard and hold the fact that this is life? And I always used to think that life should be fair. and yeah, right, life should be fair. What is fair? And I happen to have the wisdom of a brother that I'm so grateful for him. He lived a very small, he had a physical ailment that kept him in bed almost all the time until he finally passed away. But he just read like crazy, and he was just pure spirit. And I would look at him, and he and his friends, he lived in a place where other people who were physically disabled lived, and who were his friends, people who lived in wheelchairs, who moved it through something on their head. I mean, all kinds of, and he was like, don't feel sorry for me or for anyone. This is just life, right? This is how life is showing up. And through my love of that man and his place in my life, I had deep practice of letting go of wanting something to be different and understanding life. It's all life. There's nothing wrong. Yes, on one level, there's something really wrong. And then on the other level, it's just, life is all these things. And when you really see it for what it is, you see it. It's in front of our face all the time. It's our desires of something different, wanting something different, that doesn't allow us to see what actually is. But seeing what is doesn't mean not to work for difference. So it's this crazy paradox. And all I can say for me is just the more I practice, the more I understand the deeper I get in holding all of it and still working really hard to have a world that is just, that is peaceful. And I don't know if that's helpful, but that's the dilemma. It's a paradox.
Yeah.
Konda, thank you.
Could I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Just that, I mean, we know from various expert people that there were Tyrannosaurus Rex on this earth at one time, and we didn't make them, and we weren't there, but somehow we know that at one point in our time they were there, and so we seem to have a idea that we control on the largest scale, largest view, that we still control things. And I do know, I mean, some people will say, well, what is it? It has to get a lot worse before it gets better. And that's, of course, hopeful. But each time it gets worse, it seems to be quite difficult.
Well, you have a point there. And let me make another point, then I'm going to ask Kozan, and then we're going to just go to essence, because we've got a few more things. But I often cite the words of Václav Havel. He just really, for me, when you were asking about hope, he says, hope is not the conviction that something will turn out well. Hope is not the conviction that something will turn out well, but the certainty that something makes sense, no matter how it turns out. I think this is important. This is, I don't think I was a Dharma practitioner, but this comes back to being deeply aligned with values related to our character, who we are, how we are, what we do, and going back to Konda, to mitigate harm, and to Rebecca, to love. Kozan, do you want to drop a few words in, and then we can ask Jacqueline and Virginia?
Yeah, I really love what you just shared, Roshi, and that's what's been on my mind as well, which is everything that occurs is a mirror for the society we live in, and what we have to show up to. And we can't help sometimes but wish it were otherwise. We have incredible minds that can imagine a world that is more just and more kind than what we seem to meet. But that is not our practice. We show up to what is here. And in a federal election in particular, it's a bit of a lagging indicator. It's maybe showing what we've been over the last, where we've been. But we see, this is what comes to the surface during this huge ceremony we call a federal election. And then we can turn toward it. It's not a mystery. We work with it. So that kind of, that gives me a little bit of energy, whereas imagining things to be different kind of does the opposite. I don't know why. It's a mystery, as you said, Konda, but it seems to be that way. And then the other thing is life is very practical, and we do what is practically in front of us. And right now, what's practical for me is I have a drive to get to the airport to return to Santa Fe in time for the election. So I'm going to step off and allow you all to close together in these final minutes. And thank you all for being here.
Get back to this home, Kozan.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kozan. And then Jacqueline going to Essence, Virginia going to Essence, then Konda and I will just go. We could really stay in this, but I think we have to be faithful to time. Jacqueline.
I'm so grateful for these gatherings every month. I have a beloved, dear friend that I've known for 30 years who is a border girl. She grew up in Juarez. She lives in El Paso. She's lived all over this country of ours. And in the 30 years that I have known her, she has never voted. And she embodies ahimsa. do no harm. She is not a Dharma practitioner, but she lives the Dharma unbeknownst to her. She does no harm, and she is engaged in her community. But she will talk to you about global politics and the politics of the border when she remembers when it was a fence, when her grandpa was alive. So she has her reasons. She's a wonderful debater, So we agree to disagree, but she has her reasons for not voting. And Konda, you said something. My friend has introduced me to many indigenous practices. She is a keeper of the land. And you said, and Roshi, you said, we vote for what we love, and she loves the earth and she loves the land. So it has given me like a new way of maybe having this conversation. She deeply, deeply cares for the land and for the earth. So maybe that is the way of approaching it, instead of, the global economics and global politics and the corruption that she talks about. So thank you for just kind of giving me another way in to sit with my beloved friend and say, hey, we vote for the earth. All that other stuff, yeah, it's true, but vote for the earth. So thank you for just giving me a new way of approaching it.
Thank you, Regina. Thank you so much. And Virginia, really going to essence. Let's see. Oh, everyone's unmuting. I'm not going to touch it. Okay, you're good.
I'm sorry. So I just want to be thankful too. I'm here in Wisconsin, where we know every day how pivotal everything is here. But I wanted to say thank you to everyone, especially to Kozan and Konda, for talking about the long histories that we are all part of, and that what we do is resting on so much history, but that what we do is important because of our actions in this moment. So thank you.
So I just need to say something behind all this, which is I just want to thank the community for showing up month after month. As I said, we've been flowing through the pandemic and now into, sort of a new era. And our community of care and conscientiousness has been really important for us sustaining what we do at Upaya, which is to give so much freely. And truly, your donations make an enormous difference, because all of this is free. And it just makes it possible for us to continue. So I just ask you to donate enthusiastically if you're able to, and to rejoin us, and that you can also meet us online. We have a waiting list for Awakened Action with Terry, Rebecca, Valerie, and Christiana weekend after next. Very important gathering post-election, but you never know, cancellations often happen. But please join us online. It's completely free online. And just to know, your presence and the continuity of our community is absolutely the gold that makes it possible for us to bring what we do to you and also to others. And I just want to ask Konda to offer the dedication of the merit, if you will, Konda.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes. I just first want to say thank you for having me, and the fact that my calendar was open at the last minute, and I'm really appreciative, and I'm appreciative of this community. And I just want to take this moment and dedicate the merit of this time that we have spent together, and our personal practices that we have, that we know that our practices for so many others, for those who are bedridden, for those who have places that they can't reach. We know that our practice is not just for us, and that it is the practice of our path of the Bodhisattva. And so I dedicate this practice and the time that we spend together for joy, to peace, to love, to compassion, to all that feeds life and wellness. And that we as a people, as a human people, as humanity, that our practice will bring us together, and in love and in cherishing each other's, our difference, our sameness, and that we also cherish all beings that we share this incredible planet with. May we go in peace, and may this practice be one that fills the entire earth with love and compassion and joy and peace. Blessings to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And in the hall, thank you. It was really nice to do it live on site. So hopefully we'll be able to do more of this. And I want to just acknowledge Kodo-san, Bonnie, Noah, Shannon, Melinda, David, Charlie. I mean, the incredible staffs holding, what all this under the hoodness. But primarily, I want to acknowledge the residents here at Upaya for how you hold this place, this practice, this land, each other, and all those who come through our temple doors. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Blessings.